everyone, welcome to Cycle 3, Quarter 3, Week 14 tutor video for science. This is tug of war number 88 in your Van Cleese. It's a pretty straightforward experiment. CC Livermore, we've added just one additional element in here. I call it like a control. So let me go over the supplies. You'll have a bottle of rubbing alcohol, a bottle of clear water, and a bottle of colored water. We'll have these little containers, and if you are not the first class, this will probably be set up for you. So each student will have a plate, a pipette, and 3 containers of water, or 3 containers in front of them, one with rubbing alcohol, which has an A at the bottom. Hopefully you can see that. And one colored and one clear. I actually would suggest that after you do the first test with the clear water, that you have them move it into the center of the table, because it's just one less thing to have to mess with, and they won't need it after the first test. Okay, so here we go. We have test number 1, where we take about a pipette, half a pipette of water, and we put it on our plate and kind of move it around so that it spreads out a little bit. If it's in one big puddle, it will be much more difficult to see the effects than if it's spread out, hopefully, as you can see here. Let me check. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Okay. So the first test is a control. What happens when we put regular water in colored water? That way we can more clearly see the effects of the alcohol, because we know what's different. We can look and see, observe what is different. So just take your pipette, take 1 drop of water and drop it in. And what I'm observing is that I can actually see the clear water going in there, because the food coloring lightens in that place, and then it blends right in to the rest of the water. But nothing happens on the edges, nothing pulls away, it just incorporates in right away. Okay, so set that up to the side. Now for the rubbing alcohol. Word of caution here, rubbing alcohol is toxic for our students to ingest. We are to ensure that they keep it away from their nose and their mouth. We are to be very firm with the supply. Unfortunately, this experiment does not work if the rubbing alcohol is colored and the water is clear. So the alcohol is clear, but we don't want anyone getting confused that this is something that they are to ingest. There's an A at the bottom, and again, be very strict and firm with how the students are handling supplies. And if a student is not doing that respectfully, you can take their supplies away and have them observe their neighbor. All right, so let's take our rubbing alcohol. I I give my pipette a squeeze and let it fill up. Now I'm going to take, you can see this okay, and I'm not going to drop it into the center. Our science sheets say center. I'm going to change that before I print them. I'm not going to drop it into the center. I'm going to drop it in towards the edge. And I don't know if you could catch that on the film, but it absolutely flutters. The whole edges flutters. So if you drop several in one spot, you can start to see it pulling away and the water spreading out quite a bit. Depending on how thin the area is, you might even be able to separate the water, a portion of the water from the rest of the water. So you'll just have to experiment with that. Actually, they might even want to put everything but the rubbing alcohol away so that they don't accidentally put alcohol in the water. That would ruin the experiment for the next class. And it totally flutters. It looks awesome. But that's what we're looking for. You're looking for that fluttering, you're looking for that momentary pull or separation. If you'd like, you can have your students be very firm and scientific with it, where they're spreading it out and they're putting 1 drop in or 3 drops in. You can direct that if you desire, if you have more time. But once the water gets a bit saturated with the rubbing alcohol, you stop seeing quite so much of an effect, and it's really time for them to dump it. So I'll have this container empty. so that the students can go ahead and just dump their water. We'll have some napkins that they can dry their plate and begin again. All right? Okay, one other thing, how is this applicable? You know, what could we use for this in everyday life? I started thinking of Rain-X. So I have a spray bottle here, and I'm spraying this mirror with water. And then I'm gonna take rubbing alcohol in this spray bottle, and I'll label these for you. I'm gonna put rubbing alcohol on this side, and you can see that right away, you can see yourself more clearly in the side with the rubbing alcohol because it completely disperses the water where water on water just remains concentrated. So, oops. And then just dry it off for the next class. So if you'd like to use that as an example of another way to visualize it, you certainly can. Those materials will be available to you. All right, ladies, thank you so much for everything that you do for these kids and for our community. You are valued, and I pray for you daily and your blessings. Cecilia Ramore Tutors, I love you. And I